I say to the young professionals group all the time, you have to take initiative of your own path, your own journey, whatever that looks like for you, whatever you want that to be.
Hi, everyone. I'm excited to be here. I'm with Ashley Yarabinec. She is the Director of Member Relations with the MBA, who also runs the residential side of their Impact program. You are, I want to say hot off the press because that's the news term that we kind of say, but you are hot off of coming from the IMB conference. So first off, I hope you had a great trip and safe travels.
Thank you. Yeah, happy to be here. Landed very late last night, so happy to be home. But it was an awesome conference, incredible takeaways. Always nice to see my industry friends and colleagues. So great time in Austin.
Even though I think we're one of the last days of January when we're recording this, I feel like you've already been to at least a couple conferences. You have a really good in-person sentiment on how the industry is feeling about 2025 now that you've been to those events. I mean, specifically even looking at IMB, what have you been hearing? What is the feeling? What is the tone that you're getting from the industry right now?
Really excited. I keep hearing the phrase thrive in 25, and so that's what I'm going to go with. I feel like a lot of the colleagues that I spoke to and industry professionals that I just saw in Austin for IMB are excited. They're a little definitely looking to us, especially with the new administration change. There's a lot of unknowns, but I think overall there's hopefulness, excitement, there's growth. Hopefully, I want to say that people are really looking ahead, and I think it's going to be a really great year.
That is what's personally, as the person who kind of oversees our events here at HousingWire, we have four of them. One of my favorite reasons to come together in person is you kind of leave with this air of, I don't even know if the word is hope, but like coming together really just creates this new momentum of how you can conquer the year going forward. Like we're all in this together, and you notice that when you're at an event.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. I feel like always being in person, it's this energy, it's this excitement. I keep saying I run off of caffeine and adrenaline when I'm at those events, and the adrenaline just like keeps going. I like haven't feel like I haven't come down to earth yet. But that's the excitement part. That's exciting to come home and, like you said, continue that momentum and really build off of that energy. I really feel it this year.
The amount of coffee you drink at a conference does not count in my book. You can have unlimited amount if you're traveling for work.
That's good because it's way too much.
On that same note, I mean, you kind of touch on it well. We are the turn of a chapter as far as even with a new mission to a new year. Like it's a new all at once. You specifically have a great pulse on what's going on with young professionals and how this industry is supporting young professionals, helping them move forward. So, I mean, looking at it through your lens of impact, how can young professionals make an impact right now in 2025 or January even?
There's so many different opportunities for the young professionals to get involved. And so I want to kind of start this and preface it with Impact is the Young Professionals Networking Group within MBA. It is for anybody in the industry who is 40 and under. You actually don't even have to be an MBA member to be a part of Impact. So if your company for any reason isn't a member, send them to me first and I'll make them a member, or hopefully make them a member. But you can join Impact regardless. And there's so many different things that we're doing on this side. I do quarterly webinars focusing on professional development skills. I put a lot of the impactors that come to conferences in front of opportunities for them to meet a mentor. So there's so many different ways to network and come together and really come with your peers. But the biggest thing that I would say, especially if you really want to make an impact and do something to create lasting change within the industry as a young professional, is focusing on the advocacy piece. There was a webinar that we did previously just a couple weeks ago on young professionals using their voices, both on the state association level and the federal association level, so MBA as a whole. And there is multiple different ways to start, whether you're able to come to conferences or not. The first one I would say is you can always start locally with your own state association, state chapters. They have different ways for young professionals to get engaged, whether that's on the like state or Capitol Hill days that they have with their own advocacy efforts. You can always ask them to learn more about what bills they're looking at, what pieces of legislation their current state is looking at, and why and how that impacts them and how that impacts like the industry as a whole. Just another way to learn. But then if you are able to travel to a conference as a young professional, any conference, I would say, as a young professional, hands down, come to the NAC, or the National Advocacy Conference. This year it is April 8th and 9th in Washington, D.C., and our legislative team does an absolutely incredible job the first day prepping you for everything that you're going to see on the second day, which is the Capitol Hill Day. And that's the most exciting piece to me. And especially as a young professional, being able to use my voice and see how my voice is actually impacting change and impacting the people that are on Capitol Hill. We always think of people on Capitol Hill like the congressmen and the senators, and that's who we're meeting with, but we're also meeting with their staffers. And the staffers a lot of times are younger than me, and I'm 32, and sometimes they are fresh out of college and they're 23, 24, 25, and they know nothing about the industry. So you are I'll say the smartest one in the room when it comes to the mortgage industry at that moment. So it's our job to really educate them on why it's important. And as a young professional, being able to use your voice in that way can be a really powerful thing. And so if you go back and listen to that webinar, it really kind of takes the intimidation factor out of it, because sometimes it can be really scary thinking, oh, I don't want to go on Capitol Hill, or, oh, I don't want to I don't think I'm well versed enough to talk about some of these points. And our team does such an incredible job prepping you the first day that it should take all that intimidation out of it.
That's such a great call out, because even when you and I first started this conversation, I was talking about the value in coming together and the momentum that sets going forward, from even the fact that you had a webinar to bring everyone together, but then also saying, hey, here's what it looks like in action when we all come together and we get to see the change. And I think that even more than a conference is, as a young professional, helps them see, oh, this is the ways that I can make a difference. This is how the mortgage industry is making a difference. And I bet you that's a lot of kind of what people are walking away with. What are some of the attitudes when people are there, when they're leaving? What is the feeling that people have?
It's so like leaving, you mean the like
DC
meetings?
after,
Yeah.
yeah.
So the biggest like piece that I always see is like a surprise on their face, or like that hopefulness that we talked about, because and especially I mean, I get this almost every time I leave the Capitol Hill Day and kind of leave the conference debrief, is so I'm always so surprised of how easy the conversations were with like the staffers or with the congressmen or the senators, because they'll ask questions, but they know they're 6 inches deep and 6 feet wide. Like they know a little bit about a lot of things. And so it's our job to come in as industry professionals and really educate. And that's that education piece that we think sometimes we're not well versed to speak about or speak on. And I will say too, in those settings, like in that conference setting and in those meetings, you're not like one-on-one with those congressmen. Like you're in a group delegation with your state. And so there could be 20 people in the room. There could be 5 people in the room, and maybe other industry professionals are able to speak a little bit more, and you can just watch and learn. That's what I did my first year as a young professional going into NAC for the very first time. So you can take a passive approach, you can take an active approach and really use that voice if you feel comfortable. But surprise is, I feel like, the biggest takeaway that I've seen. Like, oh my gosh, that was way easier to talk about than I thought. Or, oh, the meetings, the legislative team prepped me with all of these talking points, and I was able to actually speak on this in a much better way than I anticipated, with the staffers in the room writing all of these notes and questions down, and to be able to take back to their constituents. So definitely how surprised at how much easier it is than people realize.
Yeah, I can feel the energy and passion just even as you talk about it, which I think leads really well into this kind of like final question that really sums up what I think this industry constantly needs to point back to is like, okay, what do we do now? Like we see this is how young professionals are getting into this space. These are how they're able to make an impact, help create change. But what about the companies, surrounding the young professionals? How can they step in and support the next generation of workforce or the workforce?
I think it's really just recognition. It is recognizing the people that you have, the people that are actively raising their hand. I say to the young professionals group all the time, you have to take initiative of your own path, your own journey, whatever that
Mhm.
looks like for you, whatever you want that to be. And part of that initiative is raising your hand. It's speaking up and being that squeaky wheel and saying, hey, I want to learn more. I want to do more. I want to have more responsibility. But as senior leadership and the executive leaderships, they need to be able to recognize when people are doing that and when the young professionals in their current organizations are doing that and say, oh, hey, she's come to me twice now and wants more responsibility or wants to learn more or wants to cross train in a different department to be able to be more well rounded in the current role that she's at. Let's get her the opportunities to do so. The MBA has opportunities for that to happen. Your own organization can implement what that succession planning looks like for you. There's so many different ways, but it's really just that recognition piece of the executives looking at their own staff and saying, hey, I have a handful of people that have expressed interest in learning more about advocacy or learning more about their position or the industry as a whole. What can we do about that to really help them grow in their career? Impact is free. There's so many resources that we can create that will provide those professional development skills so that when those executive leaders do want to retire because nobody wants to work for the rest of their lives, the people that they have under them are poised and ready to be able to take over those positions or step into those roles when people want to start retiring or moving up or there's a shift in your organization. So really just having that recognition, and I think it's really just owning your own journey and owning your own being taking that initiative.
Yeah, that's so true as far as owning your path. And what stood out to me as you talked throughout kind of our conversation was you guys have made impact so accessible, whether that's free or there's not a barrier to join, stuff like that. And I think that's so important that it's a great resource that people should step into. So all of that to say, Ashley, I appreciate you kind of diving into this. It's personally, as someone who is also growing her career, it's always great to see how this industry is helping take the next generation forward. So thanks for your time.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.